From Holy Trinity Church in Inwood, New York City, welcome to Inwood Artworks On Air. It's where you meet musicians, filmmakers, writers, theater makers, and artists of all stripes who make their home in what we affectionately call Upstate Manhattan. I'm your host, Aaron Sims, and today we welcome theater artist and filmmaker Colin Campbell. Colin Alistair Campbell is an actor, writer, producer, and newly minted director. His debut short, Patricia Says Goodbye, is a narrative drama that screened as part of the 2023 Inwood Film Festival. His second, most recent short is Fundamental Shapes, a gentle romantic comedy in the middle of its festival run and has garnered the Audience Choice Award for Best Narrative Film at the Indy Shorts Film Festival and the Jury Award for Best Comedy Short at the Vero Beach Film Festival. Colin is a founding member of the Kylie Ensemble, a contemporary theater group in New York City, and he draws on his own experience as an actor to help shape and direct his writing approach. Born in Iceland, Colin enjoyed a rather nomadic childhood and early adulthood, living in countries on 4 different continents, but he currently calls both Virginia and New York City home, particularly uptown. So we're going to talk to him about his work and much more, but first, let me welcome you, Colin, to Inwood Artworks On Air. Thanks for being here.
Aaron, thank you so much for having me today.
You bet. Quite a resume, young man. You've been everywhere. You're like that, what's that song? I've been everywhere, man.
I don't know about everywhere, but I've been a few places.
Yeah.
Including Inwood.
Including
this wonderful neighborhood
How
up
does
here.
one find their way from Inwood, Washington Heights from Iceland?
Well, I honestly, that is a circuitous path. But, when I first moved to New York, this was the first place I lived and really fell in love with it. I didn't know anything about the city.
Yeah.
I lucked into a spot up here, and it's just, I don't know how to tell you. And everyone listening to this who knows and loves the neighborhood, it's got such a neat mixture of people, of backgrounds, museums, cultures. It's, I think, I don't say an undiscovered gem because plenty of people know about it, but certainly a unique spot within this beautiful city.
Yeah, you have the parks, obviously, the people, most of all, I guess.
Of course.
It's a
And
great,
an amazing artistic community.
That's right. I created a company on it, so I could, and you're part of that community. So yeah, you kind of answered your own question there. It's funny. This is it's been a strange post-COVID era, I think, for Uptown too. People are like, there was that mad dash maybe about a year ago of everyone just desperate to get their projects done and get out of there. And now I think we're seeing a little bit of a lull because everyone's looking for funds to do their projects and resources. It's a time and money kind of combination,
Of course,
right? And but you've done really well with that. You have Patricia Says Goodbye, and you have another short here, Fundamental Shapes. And how is the post-COVID era treating you thus far? It sounds like pretty well.
I think you said it perfectly. I'm very much part of that. I think that wave during COVID that, I really come at this as an actor. I was in a theater group. I suppose I still am. But theater clearly wasn't really happening in March, April, May, et cetera, of 2020. And I've always been passionate about film. It was frankly what drew me to acting and this form of storytelling. And I thought, I've got no more excuses. It's time to write my own material. I've got a phenomenal network of fellow actors, people whom I'd love to write parts for. And so that's really sort of the origin of my first little film, Patricia, was wanting to do something with this ensemble that I had worked so closely with, and to start my own filmmaking journey. But the second piece, honestly, after doing the first one and being crazy enough to do a short film, because you do have to be a little bonkers to do it, I guess I just got bitten by the bug and wanted to keep riding that energy, and kept chugging with the second film. And honestly, I'm in the works right now with hopefully shooting another one maybe in November is my hope. Another short film.
Really,
Yeah.
You're a busy man.
Well, trying to keep busy. I feel like it's half the battle just to stay active.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. Like you said, the idea for Patricia Said Goodbye started with roll up your sleeves, get off the couch, and do something, right? Because of the physical situation of the world,
Exactly.
where we're all relegated to be, that isolation. But where did the story come from for that screenplay?
It morphed. So I began with the idea. This is my first time. I'm not going to shoot a Western with a cast of thousands. I'm going to shoot something that's halfway
Sounds
feasible.
like a true theater artist.
Exactly. So somewhat feasible. Of course, I ended up doing a project that was more ambitious than I realized. But I, the story, I wanted to write something. I was thinking about both the practical setup, so something that could take place mostly outdoors because we shot this
Yeah,
in the middle of
makes
2020.
sense.
I wanted to shoot something that involved the ensemble, and I really wrote the piece, frankly, for the main actress, the lead actress.
She was great.
I agree. I mean, I'm biased, obviously, but I think she's just a luminous actor and just so very talented. But I wanted to do a film where we followed a single character through really the full range of the human emotions, to see the full arch of or arc of what we humans experience, whether it's a given day or even a lifetime, but to truncate that into real time. So whether it's 15 or 20 minutes of screen time and have that really be the story and have her go through joy and sadness and originally began as a comedy. I wanted to do something just light and funny because middle of COVID felt like a good time to
Yeah.
have a nice laugh. And I wrote something that was kind of a farce. And I looked at the script and it was about this um, kind of arrogant actress who was being chased by the paparazzi. And I realized I don't like this story. I didn't want to watch the movie. So that's a good first test. And I was plumbing the kinds of questions and themes that I wanted to ultimately grapple with. And the story just kind of dropped 3 floors and ended up being a much more um, I don't know if it's necessarily heavy, but certainly a drama dealing with some very weighty issues, and then selfishly wrote myself apart in the piece. Why not?
You know what? Hey, you know what? You know the guy who wrote it, and as far as
Exactly. I had an in with the writer director.
exactly, you're right there with it. Well, I think it's a beautifully shot film.
Well, thank you.
It's a for your first real. And it's not a short. It's a longer short film. It's a lot. And you can tell your theater background writing came in there. There's a lot of scope and had a little bit of I call it and I take this in a good way, a primetime soap feel to it,
Yeah,
where
yeah,
you had a building narrative. It wasn't quick cut. There's more of a scope of emotional investment in the storytelling, unlike where you get to the Law and Orders of the world and all that. It's a real. They really need to keep it moving fast, and there's a reason why they do that with those true crime dramas. But yeah, I thought it was a beautiful film, all including your performance.
thank you, Aaron.
Well done,
Appreciate it.
and I have to say, I say this because congrats, because it was an official selection at the Inwood Film Festival, and local audiences really loved it.
Well, we loved being there. To folks who are listening to this, I mean, the Inwood Film Festival is such a lovely festival, something that everyone should know about here in the area, I mean, and not just in Inwood. And I got to say, just like the neighborhood, it packs obviously a cute local festival. Cute is maybe, it sounds like a negative word. I mean that in a very positive sense. But just like this neighborhood packs such a punch. I mean, it was lovely seeing The Whale screen there. It was lovely seeing the greatest beer run ever screen there. In addition to, of course, all the other
Yeah.
local filmmakers. I mean, it just a reminder of the wealth of talent, of perspective, all the wonderful artists up here in this neighborhood, and just film lovers. It was just beautiful screen up there at the Campbell Auditorium
Yeah.
in the Columbia setting. So thank you for having us there. It was really such a delight to not only bring the film here to our neighborhood and where we filmed it, because we filmed it here in Inwood. As anyone who's seen the film, a lot of shots that you'll recognize as your front yard or street, but to share it with the community. So
You
that was
bet.
a
Well,
lot
we
of
hope to
fun.
have you back. And so, will Fundamental Shapes make are you going to submit it to there
That's
at
up to
some
you,
point?
Aaron. I'm
Well, I don't
submitting
want.
it.
I
So
listen.
you're gonna have to tell me if it's making an internet. So
Hey, you
I'm
know what?
submitting it.
So first things first. I don't choose all the films.
Oh,
All right,
okay.
we
All
have a
right.
committee. So if everyone has me in their crosshairs or voodoo doll of me sticking me because I didn't do such a
No, no,
film,
no, for heaven's
I
sakes.
don't choose. I'm part of the committee, but we have esteemed screenwriters and professionals in the industry who are a panel that we very democratically
Of course. No,
scores and blah blah blah. But the point is like, so what's the story? It's in mid run right now for
it
festivals,
is.
right?
It
Yeah,
is. So we weren't even close to being done, but when the last festival was
right.
happening. So obviously we're ready now. We're looking forward to submitting. So a little plug for the film. It really is a joyful little romantic comedy.
Great.
So after this first piece, Patricia,
Very heavy,
sort of
very
heavy
emotional.
and dealing with some deep
Grief
issues,
and
and
all. Yeah.
I wanted to do something that was just light and joyful, smart but fun. Um, and comedy, in my mind, is the hardest genre. I think to do a really good comedy, smart comedy, is incredibly hard. And so I also wanted the challenge of doing a different genre. Um, just why not? So the piece concerns an unemployed actor, so Jacob,
Something else
who
you know something
something
about.
else that's something totally foreign to my world.
Hey, you
But
write what you know.
exactly, but an unemployed actor who falls into a very unusual gig. He finds himself working as a figure model at a drawing class. So
Okay.
a nude model at a drawing class. So not a job that he's really expecting or comfortable doing, but he begins to do this work, and lo and behold, the woman he's in love with, his next door neighbor, comes into class, and so it's all about him in this vulnerable position, but really how does he keep his identity hidden and this budding romance intact. So it sounds kind of ribald. Truly, it's a very gentle piece.
Yeah.
It's another ensemble piece. We've got a phenomenal cast. Many of the same actors who were in Patricia on this, as well
Oh,
as some
great.
wonderful new faces. And anyone who's, I mean, this is a film that I'd like to think can speak to people anywhere, but it truly is a very New York story. That it's in this cross section of New York life, of just sort of these coincidences that seem to happen living here in the city. And it's about not just this main character, who in my mind is ultimately more of sort of a plot device, a vehicle to get us into this world of these artists, but this cast of unique characters, this drawing class, all these different personalities, each of whom is truly unique, and the fact that they all rally to defend and support and hide this young man who they don't really know, but they're still so all about it's a very positive film. So looking forward to sharing it with
Yes.
audiences here
Sounds
in the
wonderful.
community.
Like the turn here going towards comedy. All right. So, and I was curious, are these actors from your theater ensemble you mentioned earlier? Are these people who you're working with from the theater world and bringing them in, or are they new people? Like,
These are the people who were in the film from Patricia who have brought this time are from that same ensemble.
mhm.
So people with a theater background, although many of them have very active film and television
Mhm.
professions or careers as well. And then I enjoyed doing a true casting process for other roles, so expanding my net a little further, meeting some new people, and that was for me as actor director really a neat experience to see how the casting process works from behind, because usually I'm sort of in
Sure.
front of it as opposed to behind it, and to
Yeah.
see how that works. As always, a reminder, a sort of reminder just how many incredible actors there are in this city. We auditioned so many wonderful people, but ended up with for these two specific roles you were casting. I think just absolute gems, absolute rock stars, just lovely people to work with, phenomenal actors who are make their characters even better than I had written them.
Awesome. So, are you going to return to stage anytime soon,
You
or are
know,
you staying on the film world?
good question. I mean, I'd love to do more theater work. I confess, I I've really been bitten by the film bug. I enjoy the process of writing and directing, and certainly acting too. So I think at the moment I'm most focused on film,
Mhm.
but I do love theater, so would love to eventually get back in that world too.
Gotcha. Well,
Yeah.
it's there when you want it. It's absolutely there when you want it. Well, Kyle, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. Is there anything else you want to tell us forthcoming? This new project in November, or anything you want to tip the hat on later? Want to keep that on the
Well,
wraps?
I might actually keep that on the down
Okay.
low, just so that
All right.
I don't jinx anything. But all
No
to
problem.
say, excited for new projects and just to keep chugging. And yeah, thank you so much for having me here
You're
today.
very welcome. We look forward to seeing more of your work. And so, before we say goodbye, where can we go to send people to keep up with you and your work and what's going on?
You know what? Oh gosh, that's actually a good reminder for me. I need to build myself a new website. I took my website down. I need to rebuild it. So at the moment,
How they get in touch with you?
at
Through
the
Instagram or something
you know
else?
they
Or?
can. So Instagram's good. I've got I think it's Colin.A.Campbell on the Instagram thingamajig.
Okay,
I think that's
we'll
me.
find it, or you can tell us
True,
otherwise.
that's it. Or actually, I've got two Instagram handles. The main one is Colin.A.Campbell. The other one is Lazimpot Film. So LAZIM as in Mary, P as in Paul, AT. So all one word. Lazimpot Films. And that's the Instagram handle.
All right, so keep up with Colin and Lazenpot Films to know what's coming down the pipeline, and I'm sure you're going to be well, uh, well surprised when they're coming up. And
Thanks,
if you
Eric.
haven't caught Patricia Says Goodbye, is Patricia online anywhere? Can people watch that somewhere?
You know, I'm going to put it online now. So
Yeah.
now that we're done with the festival run,
Yeah.
courtesy to you wonderful folks at Inwood Film Festival, I'm going to put it online. So
Great.
it'll live on Vimeo in the next couple of months. We'll be live.
Fabulous. So
Let's
keep
see.
up with him and don't miss it, okay, folks? Well, once again, thank you, Colin,
Thank
for
you so
taking the
much
time.
for having me.
and
Appreciate it.
You betcha. So this is Inwood Artworks On Air. It's where we meet the musicians, filmmakers, writers, theater makers, and artists of all stripes that make their home here in northern Manhattan. If you have a moment right now, please show us some love and rate this podcast 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Also, thanks to Holy Trinity Church here for hosting us, and to HideSites.com for uptown promotional support. And you can support On Air and all of our programming by making a tax-free donation at inwoodartworks.nyc/donate or via Venmo at Inwood Artworks. We would greatly appreciate it. Also, be sure to follow us on social media to keep all that we do, which includes the Inwood Film Festival, Filmworks Alfresco, pop-up art galleries, live performances, and so much more. Inwood Artworks On Air is proud to be supported in part by public funds from the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs in partnership with the City Council, and Inwood Artworks programming is made possible by the New York State Council on the Arts with the support of the Office of the Governor and the New York State Legislature. From the top of Manhattan and the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much for tuning in. This is Aaron Sims for Inwood Artworks On Air.